A Kanye.
Yeah.
Big old Kanye. Okay. Do you have any preference? Because there's some purists who want people to say Kain or Kain. Do you?
I have no idea. I read
Okay.
on the that Discord
Hmm.
that that's how it's meant to be pronounced, but I've always pronounced it Kane, but I don't want to be murdered, so
Yeah, stick it to the
I
man.
will.
So you
Yeah.
just say Kain in there. Well, you just type it, so no one will know.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yep.
No one will ever know. Good. Um. All right. Well, let's help you out. Let's make sure that we try to stay on time. So if I mention how long we've been going, that usually means that we might have to pick up the pace a little bit, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem, I think. So let us know a little bit about your situation. Like, how much do you play? What kind of content do you enjoy? And I guess what's like the purpose of the session? Like, what do you want to achieve?
How much do I play? Probably way too much. Trying to end up struggling Lotus. Not
Mhm.
Lotus, Lucid.
Lucid, yeah.
Yeah. So, I can already do like struggle runs sort of and get into them, but I want to be able to solo it and move on to like harder content.
Solo
Like,
normal Lucid.
ultimately, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, I'd want to be able to like attempt at least a struggle run, a small party at hard Damien. That'd be my goal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, at the moment, nowhere next to that.
Okay. And have you had normal parties for these bosses, or like normal? I mean, like full parties for these bosses before, that could move into solos, or
So
like you did some struggles
I
for
do.
Lucid, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I do some for Lucid, but as for Damien and Lotus, I just solo the normal one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which I think is fine for a long time, right? It's way faster. You get your crystals, you get out. It's more crystal value
Yeah,
than with a full
pretty
party.
much.
So.
I'm like not even close to attempting hard Damien yet or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, some people think my hero should be able to do it, and then I tried it one time, like duoing with a Kana, just to show people, like, look, this is how short we are on damage. Like, just because you can kill normal very quickly doesn't mean, oh, you can just do hard now. Like, it's 30x the HP, right? So it's like, if you could do Damien in 1 minute, that would mean that you would take about 30 minutes, like very, very rough estimate, like a full 30-minute run to do hard Damien. And even then, the problem with that is that you're multiplying the amount of time that is in the air costs you 30 times as much damage, right? Because you're extrapolating to this is how much damage you need to be doing over time. So if he's in the air, you're losing like 30x that damage.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, so
I attempted it.
and he's gone a lot.
Scratched him.
Yeah, he's got a lot. He's got a lot of HP. The mechanics aren't much harder, right? It's basically the same. Dodge the same stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have an up jump, right? But you have the up dash.
Yeah, I can up dash.
Can you time that correctly on like the purple skulls in phase 1 now because of the removal of the ceiling? Or do you typically just iframe it? Because you have a pretty short cooldown iframe, right?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I just do whatever is necessary at the time.
Yeah, if you're completely boxed in.
Frame it. Yeah.
And
if not, I'll just try and dash up.
And you're in Oceania, right?
Yeah.
So do you sometimes get the double dash?
Nope.
Okay. I got that sometimes on my Kain because of ping. It's like if you're going up and you have the dash and you just spam the key, sometimes it dashes up twice.
Never even attempted.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Oh shit, you can too. Holy shit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's nice.
Don't abuse bugs. No, it's like it happens sometimes because of no. I just noticed because I'm a key spammer, right? Because I'm in EU, and my bad ping, I sometimes have to press buttons like 3-4 times to make sure that it goes off when I want it to, right? And then I noticed that for the dash, that sometimes it would make you double dash in situations, which can be dangerous, of course, if you're only trying to get one, and then you get two, you dash into something else that can kill you.
Yeah, that's.
Well, now you have the power. Now wield it responsibly. Okay.
Pretty much consistent too. So like every time I can double dash, that's mad. Thanks for that.
Yeah, careful with that. The other thing is, yeah, okay. So you said way too much. Can you quantify that a little bit, just so we have a reference frame? Because some people think 20 hours a week is too much. Other people literally do 80 hours and think it's okay. So
I
like
spend
totem.
a lot of time doing nothing.
Okay.
I don't really totem at all.
Okay.
I finish my totems per month, but that's not that much. Like I should jump on my Kana and shit, but I'd rather not. I need to watch my language. Sorry, TOS.
No. You're fine. Wait, you say you don't totem that much, but you do finish all your totems?
Yeah. I at least buy them all. But yeah.
Okay. Oh, you buy them all, but then you don't actually use them to train on?
I've got some backlogged. But yeah.
Okay. So you just
I
like on the weekends or
play-
something, if you have time, or?
I play on average maybe like 4 hours a day, 4 or 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is spent AFK or
Mostly, yeah. Or leveling mules.
living meals. Okay. So is there some kind of what do you think is kind of like blocking that motivation from going out there? Because there are things that you want to do that you said, right? Like you want to solo Lucid. Obviously, you can get that from AFKing in town, but there must be something
Oh yeah.
kind of like missing from motivating you maybe right now just to go out there and
I don't
get
know
that,
how
right?
to. I straight up don't know how to get stronger. Like from where I am.
Mm-hmm. And you feel
That's the main reason.
like
I'm sort of
training,
stagnant.
right? And is it like the kind of like you kind of like just freeze up because you're not sure where to go, so you rather not do anything to not do anything wrong?
Well, I can train and like level up, but I don't want to over level my damage, sort of. So I'm not super focused on that. Like,
Okay.
I'm afraid I'll get to a point where I'm like 250 and like looking at all those guide sort of things. It's like 250 with 7k Legion and 95% IED. I don't have that, so I don't really want to get there and not have that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how to get that either.
Okay. So you want to make sure that there's not a big disconnect between the different things where you can spend your time, because otherwise it would feel that you're doing it very inefficiently. Is that
Pretty much.
okay?
That's pretty much exactly it.
And is efficiency there the goal, or is it that just kind of like the benchmark that you use to make sure you're not wasting all of your time?
The latter, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Which I would say is usually like the healthiest interaction, I would say, with with efficiency. Some people get really anal about it, and then other people would just be, like, I just want to make sure I'm not absolutely wasting all of my time and doing like 5% an hour, and then if I do something else for like 10 hours, I can now be making 10% an hour. That would just be kind of ridiculous to waste my time like that. Okay. Okay, so you did mention the percentages and stuff. That's from the progression grid, right?
Yeah.
And have you specifically looked at other commands than that? Because it kind of like links through to other commands as well, right?
So a little bit. I usually not particularly your links because I don't know half of them. But I Google like a lot of stuff.
If you don't know half of
So,
them, then you do know about 100 of them, so that's a good start. Because I have about
Sure.
200, so.
So I've
yeah.
looked through the Legion one, like what's best to level up, the links, but I have
Right.
most of the links anyway.
Do you want to start there with like Legion and links and kind of just
Yeah,
go
sure.
through that? Yep. So you're at 4.3. Okay, that's pretty good. And you filled out the boss and the crit damage. So I'm guessing crit rate is like you're aware of like the general priority of like importance of stats, right? It kind of shines through in the links and the legions and in the hyperstat video and how you want to fill your grid, right? It's all kind of the same priority with like critical rate, critical damage, IED, boss damage, kind of like the I should mirror it. Oh god, this is hard to do. There we go, like that. like inverted counterclockwise. That's the word we're looking for. Counterclockwise on the outside of the Legion grid, right? In importance. So go from critical rate over to critical damage, down to IED, then finally into boss damage in kind of the priority of where to fill the grid in.
Oh, okay. No, didn't quite know that. So I know I'm at 109% crit rate.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't think it'd be too necessary, even with the vicious shot.
Yeah, so for critical rate, it would be like up to 100% for everyone, and then they can kind of move on. For archers, it's sadly a little bit more complicated than that. I wish I just had like a golden rule to snap my fingers and be like, this is the number you want to be at. That is like a hairier thing to balance out because of vicious shot, and especially if you're very burst heavy, which as a Kain you definitely are. So that means that there's more pressure on the vicious shot, and potentially also more pressure on going over on crit rate. But from what I do know is that Kain seems to have very good base numbers, right? Like ID and boss, and the critical rate is decent, and critical damage as well. So they don't need a lot there, which means that once, you know, the ID and everything is taken care of, you could go into critical rate for pretty free extra damage. But this is something that specifically, like, other Kains can enlighten you more on like what is the actual, like, number of crit rate that makes sense, right? Probably doesn't make sense to go for like 180% crit rate, then you're probably missing out on way too much other stuff. But maybe like 140 or 150, you know, with link skills seems, you know, like a reasonable amount that most people do want to aim for at a certain stage. I don't know if that's a metric, you know, when it comes to crit rate that I can incorporate in the grid. Now that I think about it, maybe, you know, we could have a second number there for mid game, late game, end game for archers. That makes sense. I could look into that. Because that's one of the balancing questions, right? That comes with the archer territory.
Yeah, there's other places I can put it into as well, like my hyper stats or my legion grid. Like, it can come from different places. I can definitely add more to it, but
yeah,
but right now how much is good. Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't really have your own sharp eyes, but you do use decent sharp eyes, right?
Yeah.
And you've got the crit rate from the inner ability now, so that's where a lot of it is coming from as well.
Yeah. With that, I'm pretty sure I need to change that at some point, yeah?
Yeah, like optimally, there would be something else, yeah.
Yeah, so because, second line should be crit 20%. That's correct, or?
I believe so, yeah. The thing is, the lines like that, like 30 attack or 30% crit or 20%, like 20% boss sometimes, because that's a bigger difference. But most of the 30% lines are never best in slot for top line, because the second line unique can be up to 20, and that's 2/3 of that. Plus you get to add a whole other unique damaging ability, or, you know, in the case of boss damage, 20 versus 10, which is double. That's just more efficient to have that as your top line, and then have something that goes down from 30 to 20, which is a lower lower loss of value, to have that be on your unique line. Same thing with buff duration, right? Like 50% would be crazy good, but most people can benefit better from like attack speed +1 and then 38%, right? Because you're only losing 12% there, only like less than a quarter. But you're getting a whole bunch of extra value out of another unique, well, I say unique as in, you know, a specific skill, like a legendary line that cannot exist at all on the unique or the epic tier. So that's usually why we go for those on the unique line. I believe could be passives +1. Let me double check, because I think you have a whole bunch of valuable passives, right? Right now what I have is either cooldown skip or +1 passives for the top one, and then 20 crit, 10 boss, which that seems pretty standard. Intuitively that sounds right, but like other Kains can always let me know if that sounds better or not. Oh, I might be in the Kain Discord actually. Let me check real quick. Let's see if they have a similar advice. Are you familiar otherwise with inner ability on kind of how to tackle that and how to get from point A to point B on that?
I just save up on her until an event comes around,
and then
try to roll it. I know you meant to do it with like the circulators, yeah.
Yeah, because then if you roll the stat that you want, you always roll the highest number within the the tier. Yeah. So if you roll crit, then you always roll a 20. If you roll it with honor, which is, you know, also possible, highly unlikely, but inner critical rate increase on unique can be as low as 15 or it could go all the way up to 20. So it has 20% chance of being 15, 20% chance of 16, 20%, right? And only 10% chance of being 20, even within rolling that stat that you want. But if it's a circulator, it's always 20. So that just takes away a lot of the variety, the variation, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing with that's also coming is that there's still one more round of at least one more round that we know of optimizing the interability coming over from KMS, which will significantly increase the chance of getting epic, and also pretty significantly increase the chance of getting unique lines when at unique or legendary interability. So on average, it should be also quite a bit cheaper with circulators to roll for that line. So you have some more time to just figure out and to just save up honor, because that's going to be pricey, right? To try to roll back into that main stat. Now on the flip side though, like, you're basically guaranteed like a good upgrade as long as the circulator hits something, even if you don't have a lot of honor lying around. So you could technically, if you have a lot of money, you don't have other stuff that really needs an upgrade right now, there's no events coming up that you're saving up for, but there is a 50% off, you could always just kind of say like, okay, I'm going to spend 3 bill, 4 bill on circulators, something. I always say like set a budget for circulators, because you just never know. Set a budget beforehand, and then don't go over that. Don't do that to yourself. And then just see if that, if you do hit that unique line that you're looking for. And then if you do, you can always, roll at 50% off for the top line. There's no harm, no foul there. Like, you'll lose 6% crit rate and a little bit of dex. But if you get anything even remotely useful on a top line, even if it's drop rate or meso obtain, it'll be a huge increase. So that would be,
that makes sense.
That would be an option. But yeah, as long as that clears up the whole interability, right? Yeah, and so I have a little bit of like an instruction on like how to do it with the circulators and everything we just talked about, and then the link to this one where you can see all the possible outcomes. This is mainly in case people have like old interabilities that they didn't go the quote-unquote proper route to build up, and they're thinking of maybe using those chaos circulators or those black circulators. You can kind of use this to see like what are the chances of any kind of improvement and what are the chances of a downgrade, basically. And then the last link is the one that you saw on stream with the best in slot ones, which I try to keep up to date. Oh yeah, let me see. What kind of general questions? There's gonna be pinned comments here. No. Wait, is this not the? This is the Kain Discord, right? It said something about Kain's. Yeah, this is definitely Kain's. General position stick. Okay, there's an interesting tips and tricks. Spirit Savior. What is that? Okay, I can't really find it right now. Yeah. I guess I've
looked through that a little bit, the Kain Discord. There wasn't too much super useful information. I did get some things off it, and I asked a couple questions here and there. It's pretty useful, but it's still fairly new comparatively to other Discords.
Oh, here's FAQ. Maybe it's here. Hyper skills, boost notes, interability. Okay, that's just a picture, and then. Oh, here we go. I found it. Wait, there's FAQ like way up on the top. It's kind of hidden. Underneath the Maple News, there's some information there. Skill notes, boost notes. Oh, there's actually a lot of information here. Wait, can I link this to you? How do I link a room in a Discord to you? How do I do that?
I think I found it. FAQ up the top, yeah?
Yeah, with a little red pin, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I was looking at other places. Well. Optimal interability for bossing: 20 boss, 20 crit, 8 damage to status or 21 attack or buff duration or meso. Training farming: 20 meso, 15 meso, crit item. Why we don't use attack speed? Sure. Okay. Oh, so they don't have the cooldown skip or the inner in there. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Well, let's. Might have some people. 1 decade? Oh, thank you for the 10-month story arc. Appreciate that, dude. Values only. Nice. Good job. Is there do you see some stuff here that already answers some questions, or
Probably brings more up, but yeah.
that's possible. Well, we'll address those as we can.
So, one of the things with nodes, so I was told earlier when I was starting Kain that basically my boost nodes have to be all my skills pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But it recommends bossing nodes to be 2 of them, which I don't find super useful in bossing.
Prioritize boosting these if you are low on node slots. These are extra skills mainly for bossing. Yep.
Yep. Fair.
Yeah, I think they add those. Yeah, they add those others in later. That's if you're not leveling very quickly and you don't have the room for all of the boost nodes, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
That's kind of a thing that I think we had a dual blade session recently where they kind of do the same thing. In the beginning, there's like one skill that's very important for bossing, and then one that's super important for mobbing. But in the beginning, you don't want to be like, okay, just make these 16 boost nodes, because then then you don't get to improve anything basically. So you typically make like one boost node that has like the main mobbing and the main bossing skill together, and then later on you split those up once you have more slots, which shouldn't be a problem, right? Because you know about transferring and like transferring over the experience to another node.
Nope. Wait, you mean about like upgrading nodes, or?
Well, so the way that you regularly upgrade node, you can just use, even if your current node is like level 20 or something, you can use that to upgrade a new node, and then all the experience just gets transferred over. So that way, as long as it has the same top skill, right, in the same way that you would enhance another one, that way you can make sure that you have like a contingency or like a plan for later, like how the nodes are going to be redistributed, I guess.
Yeah, fair. Thankfully on my Kain I've got like, I think 2 of each skill, so everything can be maxed, which is what I need. So yeah.
Yeah, they clustered a lot of skills together, so that you don't really have to choose too much. Which also means that a lot of your nodes are potential tri-nodes, right?
Yeah.
So have you been crafting node stones or just
I've been crafting the nodes, the node stones for 35.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's good value, right? When you have so many boost nodes to level and you have all these the skill nodes as well that are all very useful. Yeah.
Because someone thinks so. I was told that was the wrong thing to do by someone. I just found too much use out of that. Like,
yeah, no, that's definitely.
I randomly get a skill node.
So
definitely better.
The reason that it could potentially be a little bit worse is because you're gaining efficiency on the shards, right? For sure, but you're losing a little bit because on average you're going to be leveling up more skill nodes than specifically boost nodes, right? Because you're going to be opening more of those on average because you're opening more node stones. What some people will feel is that the loss of efficiency on or the increase that some of the efficiency that you increase goes into your skill nodes and not into your boost nodes, which means it doesn't really help your boost nodes leveling up. Well, even though that's kind of true in the short term, in the long term, it's way more efficient this way. If you're in it for the long haul, because then your skill nodes are going to be way closer to level, so on average you're going to open way fewer node stones to get everything maxed.
Yeah, that's the plan, and then eventually just have everything maxed and make a whole bunch in my storage.
Okay, we need to reassess because we're like jumping a little bit from topic to topic. So I want to make sure that all of the topics have been like the individual systems have kind of like been addressed, and that you're clear on like where to go with that, and then we go to the next topic kind of. But now I notice we've been a little bit hopping all over the place. So I guess we started with Legion and with links and everything, right? We started about the Legion board and about the stats in general. That's a good like baseline to lay. Do you have any questions specifically about the Legion board, or about what characters to level, or Terra burn, or where to go from here, or the importance of Legion or something, or do you feel like that's pretty clear?
Not particularly. So my goal at the moment is just to have a bunch more characters at 140. I'm sort of getting stuck leveling things to 200, and that's sort of what I'm moving towards.
So 8K Legion is something you want to get to?
Eventually, yeah. But as per like the grid thing, I think I've leveled up everything bar mechanic. That's like of the most important ones.
Okay.
At least to 140. So yeah, and mechanic's not super useful for Kain.
No,
Buff
yeah.
duration, it's handy, but not too much.
Yeah, I see that they have buff duration as a possible. Oh wait, did it not include it? As a possible interability line, maybe like if you happen to roll into it, like don't get rid of it, I guess. But 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. But it's not like a super priority.
Yeah.
What would it help? There's like stacks that you build.
It could potentially help Thanos' descent because it did increase the uptime on that, which is a huge damage boost. That's all I can really think of. Other than that, I don't use much cooldown things.
Wait, isn't that a 5th job skill?
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't affect that?
No, buff duration doesn't affect
My
5th
bad.
jobs. No, it would affect 4th job and lower. Like cooldown reductions does affect 5th job, but not Is there some kind of debuff that has like a timer? Maybe is it Death's Blessing or something?
Oh, Death's Blessing when it's activated gives you a small buff.
Yeah, that's from 4th job, right?
Like,
final damage
yeah.
one? Yeah, so maybe that one lasts a bit longer, and then it's easier to keep that up, maybe?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, but that's why it's
helpful.
listed as like a potential 3rd, right? And not as like the guaranteed
Yeah.
2nd or like the main line. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Because it's one of those things, like, if you do hit 38% buff duration on a 3rd line, usually your 3rd line is just a throwaway garbage line, you know? Like, you're trying to hit that 20 crit, and then you're trying to get that main line. That boss damage. That 20% boss damage. And, like, if you have that, your inability is pretty much done. If you get anything even worth mentioning on the 3rd line, then you're, like, you know, upper echelon inability tier rollers. It's not something that you want to realistically put on yourself to have to achieve to succeed or anything.
Yeah, that's about pretty much set for Legion. I just need to build it, really.
Mm-hmm. You okay with Terra Burn? Yeah. And are you okay with like the distribution of your time between your main and the Legion? Do you feel like that's fine? Because you said like I'm AFK a lot or working on Legion. Do you feel like there's more pressure to work on your Legion than you get to work on your main, or is that I guess maybe is that a result of you feeling a little bit insecure about where to go on your main now?
At the moment, like a little bit of the last thing, but also just because I enjoy leveling.
Okay.
When I'm bored, I do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people hate Legion, but it's a good thing if you don't hate Legion because it's so valuable for your account. And even if you do end up like not, you know, going all the way with the Kain, if there's another character you want to play and you already have a strong Legion, I mean, you probably noticed that now, right? Just leveling the Lara, like how strong the Lara is compared to other people in your map who are just starting their Lara and have no Legion. You're just doing like 20, 30 times their damage, and it's like, okay, this is the Legion buff in the beginning is insane.
Yeah, it definitely helps. As per links, I'm not too sure with that.
Okay.
So
yeah, we can focus on that more.
There are some that like I probably should be leveling more, like the Arc. I know I should, but don't enjoy Arc all that much.
Yeah, same. I didn't enjoy it in the beginning.
So that's sort of what I use for my bossing. What's equipped there. I don't know if that's like good or bad, or just equip what I currently have that I think's the best.
That's for party bossing, right? Or is it for solo as well?
Yeah, both.
Both, okay. Yeah, typically it depends character to character, right? Typically for if you be solo bossing, then typically Noble Fire doesn't make the cut because it's like the base damage is very low and then it adds per party member. So if it's only you as the only party member, I believe it only gives 6%, which is basically like half of unfair advantage, right? So typically then others will take its place. And Thief's Cunning is one that sometimes makes the cut, sometimes doesn't. That kind of depends on how on what situation you're in. And I guess Solus at this point also only goes up to 6%, right? Because it's level 1, 1% per stack plus 1 base, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those would be two. Well, you know, percentage damage is really good. I guess the thing that you don't have addressed here is like utility. You don't need Night's Watch, right, for knockback resistance. I think Kain is good on that.
It helps in some bosses. Depending on what boss I'm doing, I'll equip it.
Mm-hmm. And do you sometimes use Spirit of Freedom as well, if it's a harder boss that needs it?
Will, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Both of them will be equipped on Will.
Mm-hmm.
But for some bosses, not. Like, I'll use it for Will, Lotus, or Damien.
Right.
And Lucid, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But everything under that doesn't really matter.
Right. Yeah, I guess the one thing that I would probably do, because I'm thinking like hybrid logic is probably getting outscaled now as well. And I would probably throw in the like if I look at this setup, like in my brain, the first thing I'm thinking is like I probably, you know, for most bosses, I probably take out Noble Fire for Spirit of Freedom just to make sure that I have that in case something happens and I die and I don't like double die because that would trigger me. I probably switch out Thieves Cunning for the Beast Tamer link if I had it, just for the crit and the boss damage.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that to be.
Yeah, exactly. If you're waiting on that one, that makes sense. Solus, I want to have leveled up for its utility, because even just like one level on that skill makes it go from 6%, which is mediocre, to 11%, which is like near best in slot for a lot of stuff. So that's a really big jump that it makes from probably not making the cut or barely making the cut to being like a solid always in there kind of skill. And then hybrid logic, I'll probably at this point probably switch out for the adventures, the archer's adventure link skill, just for the extra crit. Because when you think about it, you know, it's only 10% crit rate, but that means that if your vicious shot is once, maybe not now, but like once your vicious shot is maxed, there'll be 5% critical damage during your burst, which is more than judgment, and the kinesis is already in there, right, for the 4% crit damage. So when you like compare it, it's almost basically the same one, but then one would look like kind of like a side, and you do become more and more burst intensive. So it all comes down to optimizing for that burst rather than for that off burst. But again, this could be like a matter of balance and, you know, how the percentage damage is affecting everything. You get a lot of final damage, right, as Kain now?
Yeah, not too bad.
With the change.
Final damage is 200% nearly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, boss damage is pretty high as well. Is pretty good. Yeah. Those are probably like the things that I'm thinking of right now, like with these. Oh, the one that you don't have is the Explorer Mage link.
Oh, one level of that or something?
Yeah. If that one, the Empirical Knowledge, yeah. If you do end up maxing that, usually, like, again, depending on like the whole setup, but for you, the critical rate ones will float to the top, especially once your Vicious Shot gets maxed, right? Because that's an important one. I don't know if that was emphasized, but like critical shots percentage goes up as it levels. So when it's maxed, it's 50% of your crit rate going into critical damage. So that's huge for your burst, right? You go to like 130, 140 crit. Yeah, it's like 70% critical damage being added. So that's massive. So when that happens, and you need all the other crit, right, for optimization, at that point it could be elementalism that comes out for fully stacked empirical knowledge, because then you'll be basically exchanging 10% damage for 9% damage and 9% IED, which will, you know, 9% IED by itself isn't like insane, but it'll always outscale 1% damage, and you can keep those stacks on all the time, right? And you're always debuffing with yourself as well. And you do like a lot of lines of damage. You got those little red balls flying around, so there's always going to be full stacks on, so that's reliable.
Yeah.
But then, of course, for mobbing, it makes no sense to have that, and elementalism knocks that one out. But those are kind of like the, I guess, the ones that I would have in mind for possible switching. It is possible once you get very, very far and you get insane amounts of critical damage in the end game. It is possible that like the Explorer Archer and even Judgment don't make the cut anymore, even though they're critical damage, which is like so good early on, right? Because if your burst is the most important thing that you're maximizing for, and you have so much critical damage, if you have insane amounts of critical rate, it is possible that the diminishing returns there start making it so that maybe elementalism does come back in instead of judgment, for example. Maybe having 10% damage then does scale better again. But this is going to depend on, you know, like I said before, like expertise of other Kains on like where those balances lie, or throwing everything into like a giant calculator and just letting the calculator tell you like, hey, you know, give me all the numbers, I will calculate for you, and then this is the amount of final damage multiplier, like total, that you have in this situation, and this is what you have in this other situation. It might be very close, but when it comes to optimization, you know, if you care enough, you know, and you're doing like really difficult bosses, maybe at this point, if you're doing like Tenebra's bosses, you know, and everyone has to make sure that they're not messing up because you just want to blow those bosses up as fast as possible because they're not, you know, terribly engaging for mechanics wise. Then, you know, it might roll out like this is actually slightly better. But again, it all comes down to the balance of all the stats, which at a certain point is impossible to do in your head. You just have to let a computer do that and kind of rely on the calculations. But yeah, I would say the Solus level 2 is definitely a good one to get in short term. And since you are quite burst heavy, the Angelic Buster level 2 will definitely be nice as well. Other than that, yeah, if you're looking at Terra Burning and you're looking at level 8k Legion, definitely consider some level 210s. But what I did first was like, you know, everything to 100, everything to 140, and then slowly from there, you know, getting some to 200, and then up to 210 if I could, and then others up to 200 that had that good level S Legion board, right? And then that slowly will trickle down. So once you get all the 140s done, you basically just start back from the top of the list and start working your way down again, going for the next big link skill or going for the next tier in the Legion board.
Yeah, this is my first Terra Burning Plus event, so that's why my hero is slowly leveling up. My goal is to get that to 220. I think that helps an insane amount.
Are you going to
put bonuses you get?
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy value. Do you have a plan for the Absolab weapon? Do you want to put it on the hero and have him be a bossing mule, or do you want to put it on other character to help that one level, or?
Wait, you can use them on different characters?
The box itself is a transferable box, so you can give it to anyone and then pick up the weapon on another character if you want to.
That's sick.
Same thing with Lara. Lara is the same box, so you can transfer that one as well if you want to.
Yeah, hers I might change.
So for hero, and then you'd make him maybe into a bossing mule or something. I mean, yeah, hero is pretty strong that early, and if you're enjoying it, you can definitely destroy CRA very quickly. Should be easy.
He's at like 215 now from when I gave you that. He's sort of up to struggle Kra already, which is really cool.
Yep.
A lot of final damage on that guy.
Yes. That's probably why you were saying that the Kain final damage isn't too bad at 200%, because you saw the final damage on hero. He was like, well, but wait, there's more. Yeah, that one definitely. I think in party, friends like endgame hero and like party situations with domain and everything, he gets really close to quadruple numbers, to like in the thousands. I think it's like 940% final damage or something.
Wow.
If you if you put
quite enjoying him at the moment.
Yeah, if you put like benediction and domain together, it just goes off of the screen because it's just too many big numbers.
Yeah, he's a good bossing mule. I'll probably equip the weapon on him, but didn't know that. Thanks.
Yeah,
that's helpful.
Yeah, that's so you have one from the 2 Terraburns combined, and then one from Lara that you can make that decision for. And that's why it's always good, like in the patch notes, to look at the item itself and to see if something says transferable or not, because that can really dictate your options, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So everything with Legion and Lynx and Grid makes sense.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Cool. I guess we went over the Matrix a little bit. We can go over it if you need anything else for that. Yeah, so like Vicious Shot is really only for bossing, right? For mobbing, it doesn't do much of anything. Maybe it can help you for like a few cycles to be a bit stronger, but mostly you don't want to rely on, at least, you know, in my vision, you don't want to rely too much on temporary damage increase, but more on like 100% sustainable uptime damage increase, right? And then increase the base kill speed of monsters so that you can keep that reliable, and then keep a consistent way of rotating the maps and killing the monsters in the map, right?
Oh yeah. Normally when I'm mobbing, I even take off most of my like actual 5th job skill.
Mm-hmm. Do you even use
A lot
the
of
burst one?
Not really. Only if there's like a so Thanos' descent basically comes around every time there's an elite boss, which
Right.
one-shots them.
Nice. Yeah.
So that's all I use.
The grasp of grasp of agony. That one is probably decently useful now that
Yeah,
it stacks a lot
that's
faster.
handy.
Yeah.
I use
Handy.
it.
I see what you did there. Because it's a never mind. That's a nobody needs to hear that. Okay. Yeah, because that big purple one on the top right, that one's. I noticed that it's kind of useful sometimes. Like if you have a vertical map and you jump off the side and you just hold it down, it just kills everything on the way down.
Definitely.
That's kind of funny.
Depending
but
on the map, it's
exactly,
cool.
yeah, just depending on the map.
A lot of them, it's just strike arrow side to side.
Wait, can you do that with the burst beam as well? The black and red one where you like walk off the side of the map? Yeah, and then.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. No, yeah, never.
Its range is a little bit weirder though.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely more successful with
With the purple
the
skill.
one.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's more the vertical hitbox is better, right? Which means that fewer monsters will like escape the tick of damage.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, looking at it right now, the only thing I would change is I would definitely prioritize the boost nodes to be in leveled up slots over the skill nodes. That's something that I would always do. And then after the boost nodes, I would probably, like if you're mobbing, I would prioritize Holy Symbol, of course. And if you're bossing, I would prioritize a Vicious Shot because of that critical damage increase. And then if you are... Well, yeah, if you're mobbing, then you have 2 extra slots, right? You take out the... Well, they're kind of mixed now, right? Your boost nodes, yeah. So you just use all 6 all the time. There's so many good ones you want to use. I wonder if, for like optimization's sake for damage, if it would be okay to remove some of the like more mobbing type boost nodes out temporarily and give you access to extra, because like the extra critical rate and critical damage from Sharp Eyes is very useful, right? Especially once Vicious Shot gets maxed.
Oh, I've got decent Sharp Eyes on my gloves.
Okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I'm saving a slot for that.
Okay, good. You do not have a self bind, but that's only for soloing that you would throw the bind in there, I guess. Or
Yeah.
maybe you're doing the bosses that you can and you don't really need the bind at this point anymore, right? You just write it out and kind of just blow them up.
Depends on the boss. But
Yeah,
some
Damien tends to... Yeah.
Yeah, Damien definitely needs to be...
Lotus can be nice. Damien needs to be held down to take the damage. Yeah, he doesn't really like to play fair. I guess the one skill is like True Arachnid Reflection is really strong from both mobbing and bossing. Like if in this situation, I would definitely take out the Decent Advanced Blessing and put that instead of there for both mobbing and bossing. Decent Advanced Blessing is like okay, but is like at best is like on the lowest page of your on the lowest row, sorry, of your first page, or maybe only on the second page, honestly, is when Decent Advanced Blessing comes in these days, especially if you have so many boost nodes that are useful. It's just low priority, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair. I've been trying to use it more. It doesn't seem to do a bunch just yet, so I was hoping to level it up first.
Yeah,
it's really helpful in Lucid. Like it gets rid of the golems very quickly, but I haven't done much else.
You mean the Arachnid Reflection? You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a powerful summon that stays for 40 seconds. It doesn't deal damage all the time, but even if you you probably haven't done BAs yet, right? You'd probably start doing that for Hard Lucid.
I did a BA.
Mm-hmm. Have you done one with True Arachnid Reflection?
No.
Because if you did, it's usually like 3 to 4% of your BA. Just for like popping it before and then doing anything else. It adds a decent amount of damage even for single target for bossing. And for mobbing, it's nice to have a summon, that clears a little bit while you're on the other side of the map. It's a good multi-use tool. Even at level 1, it's very strong, I would say. Yeah, the main thing is going to be, once you get more and more burst oriented, is to make sure that the Vicious Shot levels up a lot. That one's going to be priority. Because that increases the damage of all your other skills by a fuck ton, right? Whenever they're up. And then the Grandest Blessing also does a decent amount of boost, I think, for Kain. but it's a little bit hit or miss depending on the class. As a Nova, let me see, Grandis. It's always a bit. I know for Flora they're good. What does it do for Nova at level 30? Skills have 55% chance to bypass cooldown as many as 6 times. That's not really useful for you because you have an amount of uses on them. 35%
I just spammed you with my BA. That helps.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there we go. 612. Yeah, I don't know exactly.
Might be slightly out of order.
Yeah, it's no worries.
Pardon me.
I don't know exactly what like percentage which skill should be. Death Blessing seems to be important. Yeah, Thanos and Grip. And then the Fatal Blitz is big, of course. Position. Execute. Are you using the chasing shot every time it's off cooldown?
Not every time, but I try to, like, as quickly as I can. I usually line it up with Unseen Sniper fairly well.
Right. Yeah, because they buffed that one a bit, right? More lines and shorter cooldown, I think.
Yeah.
Which is should be. Yeah, I don't know. Like I think it's a decent part of your burst. Maybe should be a higher percentage, but again, like I haven't played Kain that far in, so I can't be 100% sure. But yeah, I'm pretty ssure that if you use Dragon Reflection, that it should be like somewhere in between the Dragon Fang and the what is it, Poison Needles, I think. Like somewhere in there in terms of how much of your damage it does. Should be like a really simple net increase. But yeah, we put the Vicious Shot on a leveled up slot as well. And then the boost nodes that you use a lot, especially the execute ones if you're going to be bossing over the mobbing ones, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess you're getting specifically more skill nodes because of the nodestone opening strategy. But once the boost nodes are pretty much maxed, I would definitely focus on making skill nodes at that point for Vicious Shot. Try to get that one up because yeah, you're just so burst reliant. So if your burst can be increased by an amount of critical damage and all the skills in there can get that boost, that's just going to be great. Yeah, it seems like Granda's Blessing is probably going to be not that high of a priority. It's going to be a lower priority. Other characters, like for Cadena, it's really good, right? Because all of their skills have cooldowns, so they can just spam them more. So if they can get the bat to reset a bunch of times, they can do way more burst. But for you, like if it resets cooldown, that's cool and all, but you don't have you have cartridges, right?
A little added extra. It's nothing too huge.
Yeah, you'll just be able to put out the damage a little bit faster, but you wouldn't be able to put out more damage because you're limited by the cartridges for the skill. So it's not as impactful. Yeah, and the door is pretty situational. We probably already played around with that a little bit, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty decent. Free life, like, can't complain.
And just one big chunk of damage, but then, you can use it for quite a while. Apply Death Blessing with Possessed Strike Arrow, which doesn't have a cooldown. Execution skills. Dude, execution kills are strong. Cooldown skip is good for execution skills.
Yeah, you can just spam poison.
That's true, yeah.
Poison Needle, which works pretty well. But it's definitely not so useful for me just yet. Once I unlock more node slots, I'm sure it'll be more beneficial, but
yeah,
right now.
Yeah, you've got that thing where you just want to have everything in there in the beginning, but you have to be patient, young Padawan. You have to go through all the levels and you have to unlock all the slots. I mean, yeah, you can buy more slots if you want to, but then that kind of, I think, takes away a little bit of the value of what you're looking forward to when you do level and reach that next level that ends in a 5 or a 0 when you do get that slot, because now you're just unlocking the slot you already bought, so that value is then getting lost. Or you have to pay for another one at that point. Yeah, that's kind of be up to you if you want to do that. But I think you've got some pretty good progress, some pretty high level nodes to work with. You also included the so the matrix levels. You also included the hyper skills. Did you have any questions for that? You just wanted to double check that it's all there?
No, I used a guide for that when I started, but it seems to work pretty well. I changed a little bit around when I'm like mobbing, but that more or less is what I use when I boss.
Oh yeah, so yeah, you love when you reset the points. You also have to put the active skill points back.
Yep, that's great.
Good game design. Where would you want to put these 4 points in these 4 skills? Let me put those back. Does that kind of clear up the? Well, does that clear up the V matrix? And
yeah, pretty much.
Any questions you had there? Okay. By the way, you see pretty much, you mean yes, right? Because if there's still questions, you let me know. Okay. Yeah.
No,
okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Pretty clarified it all.
Okay. Cool. I'll just check here. These are like your backups and your stuff. Did you have any questions on like stuff to keep, or it seems like you have a decent amount of inventory space with the materials you have?
Yeah, I don't know anything about herbalism or mining, so I just keep on everything until I'm gonna use it, I guess.
Oh, you got big bags, so you can keep a lot. Oh, some of these are gachapon bags, right? Because I think these are...
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Well, you could even keep more bags, I think. Yeah, you've got 1 4-slot herbalism bag. If you switch that out for a bigger one, then you could put way more stuff in there as well. I think you can have... Is it 4? Is it 5 total bags? I need to double check. Because right now a lot of the inventory space is still being taken up by raw materials, right? That I think could be in bags. Yeah, you can have 5 total bags between like mineral and herb bags.
Okay.
And then I believe you can have like a production bag on top of that as well. It might be that it's 5 total, including production bags though. So if you have the production and the other 4 that you're capped, well, now you have production in 3 bags, right? So I think like the ideal quote-unquote scenario would be to get rid of the 4-slot bag for like another big herbalism bag, and then get 1 more big mineral bag. That way you should be able to...
I think I can buy them off the event store.
Yeah, yeah. The well, it shouldn't be event store, right? Like the permanent store coming after the event. We'll have big bags in it, so it should be permanently available. I think they're 20-slot bags even, so it should be pretty. Yeah, that's the same as what you have, yeah. But you wouldn't have to rely on gachapon for them. You can just get them in game. That could free up a bunch of the room. Yeah, there's some stuff that is that I never use that you can get rid of. I don't know. So like the low-level herbalism stuff is pretty is nice to keep around just for like low-level other characters if you want to level up the if you just want to level up their alchemy to like level 6 so that you can extract all level equips and you can fuse and do all that stuff if you want to. Excuse me. So like getting up to level 6, if you just keep all the low-level materials, you can just make whatever you can make with them, and then you're gonna be fine. For mining, there's a lot of stuff that I never use. So like for example, like topaz, gold, mithril. What else? Amethyst. I never use that ever for anything. That's usually I just NPC that right away and get rid of that. But yeah, you have like a bunch of the extra materials from Ardent Mill as well in here, so it seems like you're okay on the amount of slots that you have, right?
Yes.
Don't seem to be in any...
Don't want to run out of EDC too much.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you've got the Dreamstones, Dream Fragments. Yeah, so the... some of the materials that are more important, of course, are like the Grand Spell Essences, Twisted Times, Philosopher's Stones. Like those are more useful for specific items to craft later on. So those you definitely want to hang on to. Might be a little bit tempting with like Twisted Times and stuff to be like, ooh, that's a high NPC value, but you know, there's a reason for that. And that's because they do have that value, so... Yep. Oh, and you're making some Lucid coins already, I see. Is that with
Very slowly, though.
Yeah, is that with a specific goal in mind, like a specific item that you want to get with that?
Slab weapon, I guess. Not Slab, Arcane. Arcane weapon. That will be the first goal, right?
That's typically a huge increase, yeah. The base attack and as a result the flame on it usually are quite considerable, so that tends to be a really good aim for it, for sure. Galax coins, the Narrows are coming along, okay. Do you typically have time for these dailies? Do you make time for them, or just, whenever you feel like it?
The Narrows, not too much. Galax I do daily.
And that's Helix, and that's quite manageable?
Depending if I mem-leak straight out of Galax, yeah.
Yeah. If he starts blinking and disappearing while you're attacking him, it's like, okay.
Yep,
it's one of those
much.
runs. Yeah.
Other than that, you guys alright?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't miss the days where I needed those clears every day for the progress, and then you go in and he's blinking, and you're like, oh god. You just pray that everything goes okay. Okay, so you have a Lydium heart right now, so are you aiming for the fairy heart?
That's the one in the gold shop, right?
Yeah, Mezzo shop, should be available after the 15th, but it's going to be around for a while, so you don't have to immediately buy it. There's definitely some time to make enough money for it. Should be 2 bill. Is 2 bill, 3 bill? Around there. It seems hugely expensive, but when you look at the potential gains from it, it's definitely worth it, right? If you look at any other equip that you would want to make a considerable upgrade on, it would be at least that much or more, so makes sense for from a price point. I guess other than that, did you have anything specifically in the shop that you had questions for, like things to prioritize there, or are you okay on that?
So I bought out all the node stones. I'm prioritizing the arcane droplets. Basically it. And
from the black bean mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the harder arcane symbols.
Yep.
So like Aspera and Morass. That's all I'm focusing at the moment there.
Okay. Yeah, and maybe do you have a soul bag? I don't know if I saw that one.
I do, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, those 40 slot soul bags are lifesavers for long term. I guess we can talk about that for a little bit. You're familiar with souls and how all that works?
Yeah, I'm slowly building my collection, but towards the ones that are important, I don't have many.
Yeah. Do you generally save up for the events, for the Sundays?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess all I can say is, like, if you want to get a lot of Magnificent Souls, especially of the specific ones, it basically comes down to how many characters you do normal Queen, normal Vellum, and normal Magnus on every day. That's basically what it comes down to. If you can do that reliably with, like, a few characters with, like, a drop rate coupon, just go through those 3 bosses really quickly, every event you'll have, like, 4 or 5 extra attempts per character that you do that on. Well, actually maybe more, probably like 10 or 12 attempts extra per character that you do that on. And it's basically just power in numbers by having way more of them. And that's because that's the great thing about the Magnificent Souls, right? Is that they don't expire and they're transferable. So you can basically mass produce them the more characters you run those bosses with. They're daily. So they're pretty weak, right? So even like a level 200 character, well, normal Magnus can still give you some trouble around that level, but like quite a few characters can easily get to that point. So if that's something that you specifically are working towards, like you're trying to get the Arcane Umbra weapon and you want to get a really nice soul on that, that's something that, just to have in the back of your mind, if that's what you want to get, then the earlier you start there, the better, because it's quite a timely process.
Yeah. No, that's I didn't know the Magnificent were transferable. I haven't even found one yet, so that's good to know.
Yeah, it helps.
I do my daily bosses on 3 characters at the moment. So
good. Yeah, so you should be stockpiling some for the next time.
Yeah.
But symbols seem to be going quite nicely. You seem to be on track, right? Do you want to see if you can get around 1,000 once you get to 245, right? Once you get to Moonbridge, so you can sneak in there. Otherwise, the arcane power requirement might sneak up on you a little bit, but that seems that's on pace. Plus, we're getting some extra input from the event shop, so that should all be fine. I guess I don't see any picture about familiars. Do we have anything familiar-wise?
Nothing too amazing. I have a 2% attack familiar.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't worked too much on them.
Okay.
I have a 2% attack, a drop familiar, and a HP regen familiar.
Mm-hmm. The drop one, is it like normal amount, not small, not large?
Normal, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty good actually. I think that's 50%, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very decent, very decent. Yeah, that's solid. Looking at your glove potential, that's very solid as well, of course. We got WSE. Well, I guess familiar-wise, what could are you? I always say it like this. Do you know about familiars? Like on what to look for and how to like go about getting some decent familiars on your character?
I do, I'm just way too lazy for it.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of have a bunch I could upgrade right now, but I can't really be bothered. Like, they're just sitting in my use inventory. Like, hundreds of each. That's something I need to do, but can't be bothered.
Oh.
I know it's a huge increase, though, so...
Have you been training at spiders, or...?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Spiders or the red ghosts, what are they called?
The red shadows?
Red shadows, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I see, okay. Yeah, if you have well, so the one thing that you can still do is get IED familiars, right? From them. 15% IED exists in normal.
I have a 15% IED one, yeah.
Okay. You have one, or do you have multiple? Like, how many slots do you have available?
At the moment, I'm sort of torn with IED, right? So my secondary brings my IED up to 95.43.
Yeah, the one with two lines. Yeah, with line of boss.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's way too much for where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because your emblem also has a line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of torn whether I work on IED with familiars or not, or just try to get like boss damage or something.
Yeah, the thing is, yeah, okay, I can understand like balancing all those stats out. So you don't have the superior Gollux yet, right?
I got one piece recently, earrings, and I can nearly buy my ring.
Okay, cool. So like when that set bonus, well, so we're talking just look fully IED now, right? So we're gonna look at everything through the lens of IED now. Like, how do we balance that out properly? How do we get to those numbers?
I'm almost 7-day Monster Park as well. 2 weeks from now I should be.
Okay, that's also a good thing to mention. You got 11 in your hyper stats, and your Legion was like 17% or something. 14%. Okay. Well, maybe that moved around a little bit. Did you add anything there? Since the pictures?
Not really.
Okay.
Just equipping the weapon. That's it.
The weapon?
Yeah, that changes my IED to like 95.43.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because of the 10%.
Sorry.
Yeah, the secondary. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so you're in the situation now where you're like, okay, I don't need to do anything for IED because if I am bossing, I equip that secondary and then I have way more than enough.
Yeah.
That kind of takes away, like, do I need to work on IED? But the flip side of that is, like, if you do work on IED with other stuff, that would mean that you can reroll your emblem and then go for full attack on the emblem instead.
Yeah, so my goal at the moment is to get my Monster Park 7-day and Superior Gollux set, which should give me enough to get rid of that line. I'm hoping. Well, it'll still be at like a good level. Yeah,
if you're using how many familiar slots do you have available? Do you have 2?
2, yeah.
Yeah. Because then if you get 2 ID familiars in there, you can already get rid of it now. Because the pictures here is without the... Is it without the familiars?
Yeah, without familiars.
And the 95 that you said, that's also without the familiars?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then if you equip the familiars, you can already redo your emblem completely and be fine. And then once you get Gollux, then you can redo the secondary.
Wouldn't boss damage familiars be more valuable there?
Right now, but that kind of locks you into basically keeping to need the IED. until Gollux, and then you redo the emblem. But then you're stuck with the current IED kind of like requirement of your secondary. Ideally for your secondary, you want to have attack on there, right? So that you can also keep scaling up when you're mobbing.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have the pressure of maintaining 2 secondaries, because that's like, the further you go, the crazy expensive that gets, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So right now, like if you can, so like if you can get more attack on your emblem, that means you can maybe just hold on to your bossing secondary and like still be fine, and then you can re-roll one of your secondaries until it's like really, really a good combination of attack and boss, and then you could just lock that one in, and the other one can kind of like be retired or like come back for Saren or something when it's like 390% PDR, right? And you want to go crazy on the IED.
Yeah, that's fair.
The other huge piece of the puzzle is that the weapon can definitely still be improved. So even though, you know,
I've blown like 10 bill in that so far.
Mhm.
My flame's horrible. Everything's bad.
That's unlucky.
I'm totally giving up with that at the moment.
Okay. So that one is that's why you're pushing. That's why you're making those coins, like to show the weapon that you're serious about replacing it if it doesn't get its act together. Yeah, 10 bill spent with this outcome is definitely unfortunate. Let's put it that way. But yeah, WC is definitely the important part. But you have legendary, you have useful lines there, but there is definitely a lot of IED on there when you're bossing. So 95 visual and how much functional IED do you gain as a Kain? Like, is there a functional extra IED on debuffs? There's some hyper passives, right? You don't have the IED one, if I remember correctly, for your not assassinate skills. What are the purple ones? Execution?
Yeah, execution. I don't.
Yeah, because that one is pretty significant, I thought, right? Isn't it like 25% or something?
Yeah, it is 25%.
Mm-hmm. And that's...
The problem is, like, the damage comes a little bit from there, but it's more from Death's Blessing.
Yeah.
With the executes, especially, like, how few and far between they are comparatively. Like, the only one you're sort of using is Phantom Blade, which doesn't need a bunch of IED because it's just a pop Death's Blessing stacks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm not sure what's, like, more useful there, which is why I just kept it off.
It might come into play more once you become more like one trick on burst, plus if the Grandest Blessing pops more, right, and gives you the cooldown skip, then then that value might go up. But yeah, for now it's probably not a thing. And the Whisper Shot guard break is that 15%?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's on basically on all the... Is that basically just all the red attacking skills?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay. And then Death's Blessing and stuff that doesn't remove IED, right?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, I don't think many of your skills in your kit have any IED built into it. Maybe like Thanatos Descent or something, but... So you're pretty much what you see is what you get on the visual. Like boost nodes have 20% built in, right?
Some of them, yeah.
So that does mean if you're visually at like 93, 94ish, you should be fine.
So they do say like monster defense ignored. Does that include bosses on the boost nodes?
Yeah, so that's like an extra IED line specifically when you use that skill, but once you have all of your boost nodes leveled, you're basically just operating with an extra 20% IED. So that's when you're calculating your functional IED, you would add that 20% IED line to make sure that you're kind of calculating from the correct basis of damage output. So some classes have a lot of that stuff that basically has 100% uptime and that always applies, but doesn't show in their stat window, so they can, you know, if you know your functional IED, that's the number you're looking for in the progression grid, right? That's the amount of IED that applies regardless of what skill you use if you hit a target that you can 100% keep debuffed. But the visual IED is like any skill you use on any target, that's how much IED you're sending out. So that's why it's important to not look at what the stat window says, but to know what your character applies when you hit. because that's the number. Right. Because for some classes to get the 95 visual is near impossible. But they might actually be on that. Like a Demon Avenger could have like 85 visual or something, and it'd be functional like over 96, because of like how their kit works. But other classes, you know, if you want 95 functional, you basically need like 94. 94.2 or something, so that the boost nodes get you to 95 basically. So that depends class to class.
Yeah. Okay, that's easy.
Yeah, so I think the ID FEMs will give you some more breathing room to have more outs in your WSE. Yeah, so barring the weapon, like, well, the first thing I would say is like try to get more useful stuff on the weapon, but you've had not much luck with that, because what if you get like 2 lines of 2 lines of attack and a line of IED, for example? Well, then you're not rerolling that, right? And now that IED is more locked, like that one is non-replaceable, and at that point it's like, okay, well now maybe the emblem is also locked for now until you get Gollux, and then maybe it makes sense to reroll the bossing secondary again, because then that one functionally just becomes a 1-line secondary, right? Because all the IED there is then dead.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's how I would look at the WSE. But if you are like kind of fed up with the weapon, and you don't want to touch that one, then at this situation I would get the ID familiars and redo the emblem. If the emblem, and then same thing, like if the emblem does end up rolling like 2-line attack and a line of IED, you can hold on to that, wait until you get Gollux, and then completely redo the secondary, because then that IED and the emblem is locked in basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, more looking at like the total value of the stuff. That's specifically looking at the WSE, but it's already legendary and already has useful lines. So we'll like position it with all the other equips once we go through everything, right? So what is a piece?
So
yeah, go for it.
Sorry, my current goal with equips is to get everything to 17. So at the moment I'm just saving for the next 5, 10, 15.
Yeah, so point with that, I would also look out for 30% offs just to get everything to 15 first. That in general saves you a lot of money, and then just only do the 15 to 17 part during a 5, 10, 15. That's on average saves you way more money if you do it that way. And since we had a 5, 10, 15 recently, there's a good chance of 30% off, or even like a 1+1 up to 15 might be coming soon. And those are good events to get your stuff up to 15 first. Because you might have to do, if you have to do everything during a 5, 10, 15 on one day, it's like a lot of clicking, it's a lot of money saved. Plus up to 15, like, it's good to get that out of the way, because it's just a whole big hassle. And you know which items you're going to be safeguarding and which ones you're not going to be safeguarding?
I'd be safeguarding my Abso. And potentially, like, the Superior Gollux earrings, but other than that, I don't think I'm safeguarding anything else. I
like
can plot everything else, right?
Yeah, so were you just not talking about the drop rate gear at all then? You were just going to keep that 12, 13 for now, and just mainly focus on the the bossing gear, or like the hybrid gear that's both there for mobbing and for bossing?
Eventually going to get rid of most of the drop rate gear, like just have it for drop. As at the moment it's just because I don't have enough rings. So I'm getting the event ring, hopefully another Carnage treasure.
Yeah.
Or maybe make the Maester ring.
Yeah, the Maester ring. Yep.
Yeah. But hopefully they're going to be obsolete very soon.
Right,
so yeah, not focus too much on them, just they're there for drop rate.
Yep. Okay. I think that's decent priorities. And of course it always comes down to how much money you have on the side, right? And for CRA you have enough backup so you're not safeguarding that. And the head's already 16.
Maybe the hat I might safeguard. I really like the flame on that.
Yeah, but remember, even if it blows up, you don't lose your flame, right?
True.
Yeah, because you get a trace, you just put the trace into a new one and you keep going, and it writes over whatever flame the other piece had. So you keep it. But yeah, you should like the flame on that. It's really, really good, yeah. Because I was going to ask, like, is there one piece that you're particularly proud of? I'm sure the hat and probably the glove potential and the hat flame come to mind, right?
Glove potential I sort of want to change.
Mm-hmm.
Get 2 lines of crit damage.
I get that, but honestly, with the scaling of everything, I would keep this glove, and I would only go for double line crit damage once you get to arcane gloves.
Okay.
With how quickly you progress through the stages, and you know how reliable that's going to be to make that move jump to arcane, how expensive it is to reliably get the double line crit damage, I feel like comes to light more, and like, you know, is able to really live up to that potential, that money you throw into it once you get it into arcane. I think before that, it's going to be more important to, you know, like you said, get everything to 17, stuff to legendary, 2 lines of potential, work more on the WSE to get that sorted out more. Maybe then also get the drop rate stuff, maybe even the 17, depending on, you know, if switching into the drop rate gear makes you considerably weaker and you do need a little bit of extra juice there. And then even getting the CRA up to 19 and maybe up to 21 before I would consider like the double crit damage gloves. And by that time, arcane should be getting closer and closer. Maybe you get a drop by then. Then we should have the shop where you can buy the droplets at any time. You will have done way more bosses by then that you can, you know, turn in. You can get the coins more quickly. And then it'll make way more sense to just. Arcane will be so close then, and you'll be like, okay, now it definitely doesn't make sense anymore. Right now, I could see that making sense, but there's still so many other items that all need to get out of the legendary, all need to be Star Forced. That's so much money that's basically already allocated. That by the time you get there, you'll see that it won't make sense anymore at that time.
Yeah, that makes sense. That
because all of those
definitely
little bits
probably
add up,
better.
add up a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good black bean mark flame for a drop item for sure. That's nice. It's a good amount of dex. Yep. Definitely.
I've got another one.
Yeah.
And five dumb pendants. I'm trying to save up 10 for potentially getting like pink bean mark, and yeah, slowly. What do you call that thing?
Transpose?
Get rid of them into the yeah, that thing. But all in due time.
Yeah.
I don't understand that quite yet.
So okay, so like drop and meso wise, do you have a full set, 5 meso, 4 drop, or what do you have right now? Because I think you have a little bit more drop, right?
I think I just have drop.
You only have drop, okay. And no meso obtained at all at this point?
Not in this character.
No. So you did mention like the Kana stuff, right? Do you generally just farm on that one, and this one is the drop for, you know, like nodes and stuff, and maybe droplets, and then for bossing?
Should. My Kana has 80% drop and 40 meso, and eventually it should be more. But yeah, I hate Kana. So
is that something you want to wean off of, and then maybe have it like as a side character that can help with events and capping and that stuff, but not really one that you have to rely on for your income for your account?
pretty much, yeah. I'd much prefer doing like bosses for income on multiple accounts.
Okay.
With multiple characters.
Multiple characters, yeah. Okay. Because in that case, I would advise to work on like a combination drop and meso set first on your main, just so that when you do regular training, you can still see like really good returns. And that way you can also use like the Legion coupons, right, when you're grinding, and maybe even the wealth acquisition potions and that kind of stuff to really still make a decent amount of money for just training. And then that will also alleviate the pressure, and hopefully help you feel more confident about the decision of like getting away from the Kana and being like, this is a better, healthier way of playing the game with doing it how you enjoy doing it. And then in return also adding more value to the training session, so that hopefully those seem a little bit more appealing than they might be. You know, you see a totem, it's about to expire, and you're like, oh, I do have some potions, I do have some time. Because then the promise of gains is going to be right around the corner, right? But yeah, I guess at this point it comes down to like which pieces do we allocate for that. So you have 5 pieces of drop. 1, 2, 3, 6 pieces of drop, right?
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
So my drop rate sits with my familiar 188%. Which is pretty good for nodes. Like I find maybe 30 to 40 per totem. I'm happy with.
That's nice. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And
I make per totem maybe 450 mil, not much.
Yeah, we can definitely.
Definitely the meso lines would help there.
Yeah, because that will bring it up to like 600-700 mil pretty simply by not really changing anything, but by just changing the gear, right? But doing the maps similarly. So the nodes would go down like a bit if we re-establish between drop and meso, but the amount of money should be going way up. Especially if you do end up getting something in the ability, you know, if you do try to go for that, because that's the other thing. We could also readjust the hyperstats and maybe the Legion board and the link skills a little bit to get you to 100% crit without the innerability, and basically say like just do like a few rolls on innerability and see if you can hit like a drop rate or a meso obtain on the top line instead. In the short term, I think that will help you a lot to get to the point where you do need that crit rate, or not need, but like really would like that crit rate in the innerability for that extra burst damage later when it gets really important for the harder bosses. But for now, I think you could probably get more mileage out of meso or drop rate as a top line in your innerability than having the crit rate in there to also increase your income. But,
yeah, it's fairly easy to do.
Yeah, but again, like you have limited honor EXP right now, so you wouldn't want to overextend, you know, so that's something to be careful for. Yeah, so 5 lines meso, 4 lines drop is like the ideal setup. I would always look at the pieces that are already legendary first, and then the ones that don't have decks first. So I guess that would be your condensed power crystal and your Kana treasure ring, right? Because then we keep 4 items with drop, being your silver blossom, reinforced earrings, greed pendant, and black bean mark that all also have a line of decks. So that's ideal, right? That's what we want. We want drop or meso and a line of decks. So that's perfect. We can keep those 4, and I would reroll the condensed power crystal and the Kana treasure for meso. But don't say that out loud, because then you won't get it. I've noticed that when using cubes. Just be like, oh, I'm just casually rolling. Because if you just use like 3 cubes when you don't expect anything, you'll get meso and drop all the time. And if you're actually trying to get meso or drop, you can use 40 cubes and get nothing. It's insane. And then we need 3 other meso pieces. So we have an earring. So we would want that's an eye, that's a face. We would want a second pendant. And then 2 rings, right? Do you have any other pendants that could be used for this? You said you had a bunch of dominators, right?
Yeah, I do. I can definitely make one drop.
That's usually nice, right? Because they go with the boss accessory set as well, so that gives them a little bit extra stat, a little bit extra attack, and they have flame advantage. So with like an okay flame on there, that'll be a decent boost as well. So like a meso dominator would be nice. And then I guess these 2 rings that you have that are already epic, they can go up to legendary, right?
Yeah, they're not super endgame, are they? Like the Ify's ring is horrible, right?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's definitely solidly mid-game rings for sure. Yeah, so they would be fine for drop rate gear for sure. Yeah, and they're already epic, so that skips a little bit of the steps. And then yeah, if you do end up rolling drop and you know and some decks, and maybe it's more than another one, then you could just re-roll the other one, right? Because every single cube is just another roll. So that way you could end up also just reassigning where the drop and where the meso goes as you're going, as long as you end up with 5 meso and 4 drop or more. You know, if you end up with double lines.
So I just re-rolled the condensed power crystal. Got 20 meso, 20 drop, 9 decks.
Well,
what else can I re-roll for?
Well, with that kind of roll, you should re-roll everything right now. A drop and a meso. Okay. That means that that means that one of your other. No, that's fine. That means you're going for 1 extra line of drop. So that's great, because that means you can pretty much maintain your current drop. Looker Dog, yeah, the average the average cost for like drop and meso plus decks on that's probably like a few Few hundred
One
cubes,
stream.
probably like 600 or 700. Yeah, if I had to guess. Yeah, that's great. Wait, yeah. So then, so now you'll just go for 5/5, right? 5 Meso 5 drop, and just counting that one for one of each. So that's fine. Okay, now tell us what you get on the kind of treasure ring.
I got 20 meso, nothing else important.
Oh, no double Meso. I'm disappointed now. Yeah, and honestly, it's fine if you just have Meso and then you go for the other pieces until you have all of them. And then, you know, because then you can start generating that income, right? And then if an event comes around or you're like, okay, I want to get a little bit stronger, then you can upgrade as necessary, but you don't have to do that in the beginning, right? Because as soon as you hit that Meso, you can start generating that income as long as you have that kill speed. And the kill speed, that should be coming from all of the Star Force increase soon, right? Getting all of the stuff.
Yeah.
The CRA, all of the Abso, all of that stuff up to 17, and then fixing the Abso potential and working a little bit on this on the CRA potential. CRA is fine to keep unique, by the way, like 15% on the hat, like that's great. If you can get that on the 3 pieces, like the other one's already 18. But like for the pants, I would get them up to unique at best and try to get something similar to the hat, like 12 or 15%, and then just keep that. And for the Abso, I would push to legendary and try to go for 23% or more. But probably 23 initially is probably fine, yeah. So Dominator and those 2 rings, yeah, and then, you know, you basically ride that one out until you have full Gollux, and then you make specifically the damage set, right? But it'll be pretty distinct. So I mean, you could go for like another Black Bean Mark or for Monocle, whatever you want to do. Probably go for a tattoo. You've got the 4 pieces, and then for the second pendant, you want to get one of those Dominators up to 16, and then transpose that into the Sweetwater pendant. So you said you weren't too familiar with how to do that?
So just quickly, I have the Sweetwater tattoo and the monocle.
Okay.
And 400 denarii, so I can almost afford the pendant as well, but they're just in my inventory. I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah, I think
Just wanted to grab them.
Yeah, because I think the pendant is 400, right? I think you can afford it, but then you're pretty. Oh, it might be 450. Yeah, but then you're pretty low. So did you go? Because for like commerce, you have like a command as well. Did you go the short-term route or the long-term route? I'm guessing the short-term one. Were you basically doing oh god, what is it? One Rosa and then Luna. Just to get the Dineros quickly, basically, or did you level up your boat?
I leveled up my boat.
Okay, so did you get the Dreadnought already? Or is it
very close to it.
Okay, cool. All right, so you're at the sailboat now. What is it, like level 8 or something?
Level 6.
Oh, 6? Okay, cool. Okay, that's good. Yeah, so if you want to level up your boat, you do the furthest voyages, right? Those ones give the best EXP?
Yeah.
Lith Harbor? Okay, cool. Yeah, you're basically just doing that until you hit Dreadnought, and then... Yeah, so you want to save the Dineros to make sure you can make the Dreadnought purchase. But again, like I said, like this is when you are... so like accessory stuff, the drop rate set, like that stuff's all settled. Everything's up to 15, that's all settled. Everything up to 17, potentials on the Abso, and maybe a little bit on the CRA, that's all settled. And then the superior set is complete, and that all goes to 17 and legendary. That's when you want to think about like transposing the pendant, right? So that's a decent amount of time. In that meantime, you can just safely level up your boat, make some more Dineros, because the boat upgrade, the last one, is going to cost 500 as well. So that's going to dig into your Dineros, and then you want to build that up again. But then you should be, and then you start building up again, and then you have the Dineros, because transposing itself also costs Dineros, so you definitely need a bit of a buffer. So for transposing the source item, so the lower level item, you want to have at level, you want to have at 16 stars. And you want to have a really good flame on it. And because the main reason that we transpose is because the targets of transposing, which is always Sweetwater stuff, doesn't have flame advantage. But when you transpose, you transfer flame advantage from an item to another one. So that's why
what star do I get it to, sorry?
16, yeah. Basically, people try to...
start them after the fact?
Yes, you can start them further, but you have to start... On the moment of transposing, the source item wants to be 16, because that's... You know, people did the number crunching. It transfers a certain amount of stats onto the item in transposing, and then because the source item is a higher level, it gets more stats from star forcing. And basically, people tried at a bunch of different stars and did the maths, and the optimal point to transpose that is 16.
Okay.
So you want the Dominator to be 16 and to have, it can have any tier of potential. You know, if you have like, if you take it to Epic or to Unique, it takes that with as well. So it's a bit different than Star Force in that regard. Than Transfer Hammer in that regard, right? And because the Flame also gets taken, that's also different than Transfer Hammer. And because once you do that, it's locked, right? I mean, it's not technically locked. You could reflame it afterwards, but the target item after transposing still doesn't have flame advantage. So any flame you use would be a bad outcome, right? Kind of like you were reflaming a superior. So you'd be basically wasting your flame. So what you do is you get a really good flame early, you get 16 stars, and then you transpose it, and then all you do with it afterwards is, you know, Star Forcing up to how much you want. And it's easier to get backups with the Narrows than it is to get Dominators sometimes. Although for you right now it seems like a little bit opposite. But you will need the Dominators, so make sure you keep holding on to those. And the other thing that you can do is work on the potential, but you basically don't touch the flame anymore afterwards. So usually for the flames, people aim for flame score. I usually tell people like anywhere between 105 and 115. A lot of people will be aiming on the higher end of that. They'll be like aiming for 115 to 125. It depends on, you know, how much you're willing to spend and how, you know, if it becomes the same thing as your Absolab weapon, where after a while you just you're kind of done with it and you hit like a 104 and you're like, okay, this is good enough, fuck it. Or if you get really lucky early on and you end up with something really good, then you hold on to that.
Yeah.
Does it all make sense?
That makes sense.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
That's super helpful there.
And then if you ever get, because you mentioned the monocle, like if you ever get the Papulatus mark, you basically go by the same rules: 16 stars, same level flame score, because it's just like the same. They fall into the same interval with flames, with like flame values with the tiers. So you end up going for like a similar flame, and then you transpose that onto the Sweetwater monocle. You know, when you're up for that. But usually by this time you're much further into the game, because yeah, it's considerably more rare, of course, than a Dominator pendant.
Yeah.
And
I've
the
killed him like 6 times, no pat mark, but
yeah,
only 6 times so far.
yeah, that seems pretty standard. Yeah. And then the extra Dominators later will become transfer fodder, to basically during 5, 10, 15s try to go as high as possible, like up to 21 stars or something, or maybe even 22 for some people, and then transfer into the superior pendant, so you don't have to risk blowing up the superior pendant. And this is something that you'll do eventually with all of the superior Gollix gear, because they're just too expensive to replace, right? And only half of them get backups. So for the earrings, you'll save up reinforced earrings, and for the belts, you can save up reinforced belts or ping bean belts, and for the rings, you can save up kind of treasure rings, and then for the pendants, you'll save up Dominator pendants, so that when you get to the point where, you know, this is like after the high Star Force CRA and probably just before the point of going into Arcane, probably is that point where you're like, okay, now I want to get high Star Force Superior, so I'm gonna wait 5, 10, 15, get all my get all my fodder, because you'll need some time to get the fodder anyway, right? But if you start saving that now, then you can have a healthy amount by then. And then you try to go, you know, see if you can reach all the way to 21 stars, and if you can, you transfer hammer over, and then you have to redo the potential afterwards. So for those pieces specifically, for the superior pieces, it's okay to aim a little bit lower on the potential, because you know that in the future you're going to have to redo that anyway. So, you know, if you get it to like, if you get 3 lands on unique, like 21%, or you hit like 18% or something on legendary, that's usually good enough to just hold on to. And then, you know, because you know that's a project for later, you want to invest more into the Star Forcing into the fodder first, and then the potential can be finished up later.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
So,
Now I know why I'm keeping them. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for some things you're already working for like right now, right? You're working for short term, like, oh, you're trying to make the narrows because you want to be able to afford leveling up your boat, or you make money because you're trying to make your gear. And for some things you're working for the mid game because you're trying to get like trying to get backups for CRAs so you can go to 17 without having to Star Force. And for some things you're already progressing and making progress for that's the same thing, but for late game and for end game, because, you know, for Papmark you're trying to see if you can transpose that. That's a pretty late game to end game thing to do. Trying to get backups for like reinforced earrings, that usually takes a while. Getting extra kind of treasure rings to try to get a 20 or 21 star superior ring, right? That's pretty end game stuff. But the sooner you start doing that, the sooner your options will become visible to you. And if a 5, 10, 15 comes around, then you can look at all the backups you have and see like, okay, what makes sense now, you know? Like a 5, 10, 15 comes around and your CRA, last 5, 10, 15, you got your CRA to 21, right? And you started saving up money again. And you see you have like 2 reinforced earrings. Oof. You see you have maybe like 2 extra Kana treasure rings, but your Kana treasure ring and your superior are both 17. You're like, okay, I can maybe make some gains there. But maybe you have enough materials to make like 8 Meister rings. You could be like, ooh, okay, I'm gonna go for a high Meister ring, and if that gets lucky, I'll go going for a second one and transfer that into superior maybe. Or if you don't have that, you can see like, okay, I can definitely do belts, right? I'll just do Pink Bean for a week and get like 6 extra belts, and now I'll have like 12 belts back up, and boom, now I can definitely go for 21 belts, and then that'll be my next project. So the RNG of the idea is kind of that you spread your bad luck of bad RNG over all of these ways of upgrading, so that whenever an upgrade event comes around, you'll always have at least something to work on. Because yeah, hopefully you don't get unlucky on everything. is the theory behind it.
Yeah. That pretty much answers a lot of my questions as well.
Mm-hmm. Are you okay on flames and like the flame scores to go for? Because that's also in the progression grid, right? Do those numbers make sense to you? Do you have any questions on that?
So I use a daily tracker that uses your calculations for flame score, I think. Forgot who it's made by, but that has like, it saves all your flame scores and stuff. That's super useful. So I use that most of the time.
Okay, good. Okay, cool. Yeah, as long as that, if you feel confident with all of that, then that's cool. You don't have to get into that. Yeah, so I guess you're going to be rerolling the rings in the short term, right? And then in the mid to long term, just holding on to money for Star Force events, mainly 17. And then, you know, hopefully that pesky weapon can cooperate soon.
Yeah.
Because right now it's like, it's almost 2-line, but it's like 1 3/4 lines, you know, of stat. So it's not living up to its potential. It's like almost there, but it's like there's definitely something to do. The main thing is that for mobbing, it's not pulling its weight now, right?
I don't have too much issue mobbing. That's why I haven't really bothered too much.
Yeah, I get that. Once you move up to
mobs,
once you move into Moonbridge and maybe some of the pieces now. No, you're keeping the same rings, yeah. Yeah, it is possible that it doesn't end up being super necessary, but it will become more and more necessary once you do harder and harder bosses. And you mentioned that you want to solo normal Lucid. That is definitely a boss that was designed for parties. It's a bit easier now, of course, that the golems take normal damage, but that definitely was designed as a party boss, so you will have to be a little bit overtuned to be able to solo that one reliably, you know, on a week-to-week basis. I think easy Lucid is a good goal to have. Because it's basically normal, but it hits you less and it has about half the HP. So that would definitely be a good test case to see if you can do that one without getting hit too much, and then work your way up from normal from there.
Yeah.
But I assume you've already tried it a few times?
I have, yeah. I'm not the worst at mechanics there, but definitely not the best.
Yeah, there's always room for improvement.
I definitely need the improvement on the weapon and stuff.
Yeah, Superior Golic set is a...
Go into it.
Yeah, like how long... When is enough, right?
Yeah.
Some people will say never. Some people will just say, fuck it, just work on the other stuff and get your arcane weapon and then go hard on that. Yeah, I don't know. Like my mom was recently recubing her weapon because it had... Well, her weapon was pretty good. I think it was like 23 attack and I think 10 dex, which is probably something you would sign for at this point, considering your outcomes.
That,
yeah. But that was on our arcane, and basically all our other stuff was at the point like, okay, well now it's time to work. So she bought like, I think 40 packs of red cubes of the big ones just to try to, you know, YOLO get something good. And I think she spent 20 cubes and got 2-line attack and 1-line boss, so she was done. So, you know, that's like the flip side, right? That the next cube could be that one, but, you know, it's all RNG. So it's kind of up to you how risk aversive you are. And It will definitely depend once you start making more money now with the accessories, once all of that is taken care of, and we see like a batch of Sunny Sundays for the next, like, let's say 8 weeks or something, and there's no Star Force event in there, there's no cube sale in there, there's nothing that really requires your money at any time in any way, then I would say, like, you know, you can definitely throw like a few bill of cubes if needed, you know, but again, like the circulators, just set a budget beforehand at the weapon and see if you get something juicy, because you're not wagering money that is like allocated to something else at that time, right?
Yeah.
So that's that's how I would look at it.
How do you find out the Sunny Sundays, by the way?
They usually are all the way at the bottom of the patch notes. So whenever the patch notes go live, I make an event calendar. And I basically put in all of the events, like with the names, with links to the patch notes as well, and like the extra explanation. And then the Sunny Sundays I put all the way in front, and I take a little picture of the weeks so you can see what's coming which week. So with every patch, I try to keep this up to date so that you're always familiar with what's coming along. I guess this week has just passed, so we can do hide a row. Whoop, there we go. And then it kind of like just scoots upward like that. So then you can also see like when are the new patches coming, right? You see which week is going to be a patch, which means on Wednesday there's probably going to be a bunch of downtime, and you can kind of plan that early. To see if you have one more week of Maple Variety, Pop Reaction, and Beach Boss, and that the Terror Burn is 3 more weeks. You can kind of keep that in mind as you go.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I wish that everyone, I mean, I put some work into it, but I think it's very useful. Sometimes I'll ask like, hey, how long is this? And then people will be like, oh, just use the event calendar for it. And I'm like, oh yeah, true. I should use my own calendar sometimes. But yeah, I do it for myself a little bit as well, so I can keep track of everything, because there's usually a lot of stuff going on. And to know if something is 1 week, 3 weeks, or 8 weeks is a huge difference in how you allocate your time. It's a precious resource, so it's good to know. 3 more weeks Terra Burn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks on the next one. Okay. I don't know if there's anything that we didn't go over yet, or anything you can think of. I don't know if you had like a list of questions, if we got through all of those, if you feel like you got adequate responses for everything. Oh, I guess one thing, do you have 2 separate setups for your hyperstats?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Like bossing and mobbing, yeah?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Basically the ID and the
addition
boss
of
damage.
normal monster damage is stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that might be also why you're not struggling as much at this point with killing normal monsters, right? Because that's a huge increase. Plus the final damage change and the monster HP cut gave it was a huge scaling increase, of course.
I feel like the final damage change for Kain was way too good.
Yeah,
it went from like not even being able to kill Lucid to like soloing her. Not Lucid,
Lotus?
Other one. That one, yeah.
Yeah. I definitely don't mix those 2 up ever. Starts with an L. Oh, and then before I know it, I said the wrong one. Yep.
But yeah, no, I think you answered a bunch of my questions. Taking a bunch of notes, so it should be good. Thanks.
I noticed some silence after while I was talking, so like you're probably jotting some things down. I'll upload it to YouTube as well, so you can always double check, make sure you got everything. Or you can listen back to what you sound like in a recording. A lot of people don't like hearing themselves, but there's the option if you want. But yeah, if nothing else comes to mind right now, you want to do any shout outs or something? I don't know, maybe your guild. I don't know if
Paradise is sick.
Yeah, Paradise? Is that how you guys say it?
I have no idea.
In Oceania.
They're mostly American, I guess. So.
Oh, okay. I guess Paradise was taken.
Probably say it different.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they're a really good guild.
Cool.
Super helpful all the time. But yeah, thanks for all the info.
Yeah, no worries. I guess we found the extra info on the Kain Discord as well. So maybe with more specific questions.
Thanks to them too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always good to have a more class specific input like that. Very, very useful. So I'm glad they were one of the Discords that didn't didn't get rid of me. But yeah, good luck with everything.
Yeah, you too, man.
Yeah, thank
Catch
you.
you later.
I'll see you later.
See ya.
Okay, bye. All right, cool. All right, we only went overtime by a little bit. Okay, I think, I don't know. Actually, it's probably like an hour and 45 already. Almost done with your totem, guys. Hang in there for the last little bit. I don't know how far you guys are in. I think you were like an hour and 45 or an hour and 50 in. Yes. So, again, I feel, well, so everyone has like different things that they're working on, but it's all like people who are around the point where they're like doing Lucid, right? We're seeing a lot of like early 240s where it's like now the game's starting to get a little bit serious. And I guess we'll see this more and more until there's like another EXP crunch or until Terraburn gets you up to 235 or something. But it's really like up to, I think a lot of people who play the game at a decent pace and play a decent amount, they do get to 240 and they do get to like, in the run up to 245 when it starts like, oof, I feel like there's a lot of moving parts now. And I don't want to, you know, I want to make sure I'm not swimming against the stream here on a lot of these things. And to kind of have, you know, make sure you have all your ducks in a row moving forward from that. And that's a good point to kind of come to that realization. But yeah, so if you have smaller questions, you can always ask when I'm live on Twitch. I stream every day. Or, you know, if you want a more elaborate session, you can check the description as well to request one of these sessions. I'm booked about a week and a half in advance these days, so keep that in mind. Or you could also enter a comment that you would like to win one of these sessions. I give 2 away every month, so that could be you. That could be you. You could be, whoa, pointing the finger at you. You could be lucky and win as long as you comment on these progression videos. But yeah, other than that, I hope that you were able to pick up something useful. And if not, that you were at least entertained while you were grinding on your totem. Good luck, almost done. Hope you made good gains. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.